Something that, well, exploded pretty quickly.
Yeah, really fast-moving public health situation. It all kicked off with a big White House announcement.
Uh-huh. A policy shift that basically got an immediate, almost universal thumbs down from doctors worldwide.
It's a really critical story sitting right at that intersection of, you know, politics, big pharma, and maternal health.
Okay.
Let's unpack this.
So the heart of the conflict is, I think, the speed and the way this claim was made. The administration puts out this really stark public warning.
About Tylenol, right, acetaminophen.
Exactly, saying don't use it during pregnancy. And they tied it, kind of loosely, to a risk of autism, a link that established science just hasn't proven.
And the reaction.
Immediate condemnation. Leading medical groups globally called it, I think the quote was, dangerously irresponsible. Almost instantly.
Which is exactly why we need to dig in here. For you listening, our goal is to get past the noise, the headlines.
Right. We need to figure out what exactly did the administration announce.
And why is the established global science pushing back so hard? What are the real stakes for pregnant people right now? So let's start with how this news actually broke. The sources describe a pretty major event.
Oh, yeah. President Trump, HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. In the Roosevelt Room. Big stage.
Framing it as bold new actions on autism spectrum disorder. Yeah. Definitely positioned as a landmark health policy moment.
Absolutely high profile. And the president's language wasn't exactly subtle, was it? He bypassed the usual FDA channels, really.
He spoke directly to pregnant women, didn't he?
He did. The quote was, "Don't take Tylenol, don't take it. Fight like hell not to take it."
Wow. Fight like hell.
That's incredibly strong language for, one of the most common over-the-counter drugs out there.
It really is. And they justified this sharp turn by claiming a very increased risk of autism.
Okay, so if they're making such a huge policy change, claiming this major risk, what was the new science? What studies did they actually present? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the core of the whole controversy.
They didn't present any.
No new studies. No peer-reviewed data, not even like a summary report from a scientific review. They just announced the FDA would notify doctors and start changing labels.
But based on what then?
Exactly. The sources quote Allison Singer from the Autism Science Foundation saying, basically, they were baffled, unsure why the announcement happened that day or how they reached that conclusion.
Because normally, changing a drug label, especially for something so widely used, that takes time, right? Evidence.
Oh, absolutely. Usually you need substantial new clinical evidence showing the risk outweighs the benefit. Often there are public hearings, input from outside scientific committees, a whole process.
Which didn't happen here.
It seems like it was completely bypassed. This came across as an immediate directive, almost like a political mandate rather than a scientific finding.
So it wasn't just about the warning itself, but the how, the process.
Precisely. It created an instant crisis, not just about the science, but about the integrity of the whole regulatory system. Scientists weren't just debating the data, they were asking if the rules still applied.
Okay, that explains why the U.S. medical reaction wasn't just disagreement. It was fast and pretty furious.
Scathing is a good word. Dr. Paul Offit, he's a well-known pediatrics professor, didn't mince words.
What did he say?
He called out the president directly, saying, telling women to tough out a fever is a dangerously irresponsible thing for President Trump to say.
And that phrase, tough out a fever, that really hits the core risk, doesn't it? We're not just talking about managing a minor headache.
Not at all. And this is crucial for you, the listener, to grasp. What are the actual health consequences if a pregnant person does avoid Tylenol for a fever?
What are they?
They can be really serious. Untreated fever, especially early in pregnancy, first trimester, it's a known risk factor.
Risk for what?
Miscarriage, certain birth defects, even complications for the mother, like high blood pressure. So when someone genuinely needs fever or pain relief during pregnancy,
Tylenol is the go-to.
It's considered the only safe over-the-counter choice. Things like ibuprofen, other NSAIDs, they're generally not recommended, especially later in pregnancy.
So discouraging Tylenol effectively leaves?
Yeah.
What? No safe, easy option?
Pretty much. No easily accessible tool for potentially serious symptoms, which is why the big professional groups jumped in.
Like ACOG.
Yeah.
The American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists.
Exactly. Stephen Fleischman from ACOG called the White House suggestions highly concerning. He said they send harmful and confusing messages.
Because the immediate danger of not treating the fever is well established.
Right. They're focused on that known acute risk versus this unproven theoretical risk being presented without evidence.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because the pushback wasn't just domestic, It went global fast.
Yeah, that was remarkable. Highly unusual, actually. Within about 24 hours, you had major international health bodies stepping up,
All basically saying the same thing.
pretty much forming a unified front, directly contradicting the White House in near real time.
So who are we talking about? Give us some of the heavy hitters.
Okay, so you had the European Medicines Agency, Europe's main drug regulator. They came out immediately,
And sen.
said, quote, available evidence has found no link between the use of paracetamol during pregnancy and autism. They were very clear. Paracetamol, Tylenol, remains essential and safe in Europe.
Even the WHO, the
Yep.
World Health Organization, they can be quite cautious.
They weighed in quickly, too. A spokesperson confirmed the evidence linking Tylenol and autism remains inconsistent and basically warned against jumping to casual conclusions.
In the UK,
Same story. UK health authorities rushed to reaffirm their existing guidance. No changes. Paracetamol is still the recommended option.
it's hard to think of another time when the world's top health agencies rejected a major U.S. health policy announcement so quickly and, well, so publicly.
It really underscores the lack of scientific underpinning for the announcement. It forced everyone to look again at the existing science.
Okay, so let's talk about that existing science. What is the consensus built on, the one the administration seemed to ignore?
It's built on a lot of work. Long-term studies, epidemiological research. The sources mention a big analysis from August.
What did that find?
It looked at 46 different studies on acetaminophen and neurodevelopment. The conclusion: most found no link.
But some did suggest something.
A few smaller studies hinted that Tylenol might occasionally interact with other things, maybe genetics or other specific factors, but no direct causal link on its own that would justify a blanket warning like this. Not even close.
And there was that huge Swedish study mentioned. Tell us about that. The scale sound incredible.
Oh, it's staggering. They followed nearly 2.5 million children.
2.5 million.
Yes, over 25 years. I mean, the statistical power there is enormous.
And they're fine.
Definitive. No increased risk of autism or other neurodevelopmental issues from acetaminophen use during pregnancy. Full stop.
So when you have that kind of massive long-term data directly refuting a claim made without any new data,
It makes the claim look, well, not based on science. It strongly suggests other motivations might be at play. And it's really important here to remember how complex autism spectrum disorder actually is.
right, it's not simple.
Not at all. Experts consistently say ASD likely stems from many factors combined. Genetics play a huge role. Maybe environmental things like exposure to pesticides, maybe issues like being born very prematurely.
It's not like finding a single cause like one pill.
Exactly. The idea that one common over-the-counter drug is the cause just flies in the face of decades of research. The NIH already spends hundreds of millions a year studying all these different potential factors.
Which makes the administration's other announcement that day also interesting, the one about leucovorin.
Yes, that got a bit lost in the Tylenol storm, but it was part of the same press conference.
They promoted leucovorin, which is a type of B vitamin, right, for autism symptoms.
That's right. President Trump announced the FDA updated its label to specifically mention using it for certain autism symptoms. It's a form of folinic acid, used sometimes in chemotherapy, too.
So is that like offering a potential fix alongside the warning? And what's the actual science behind leucovorin for ASD? Is it a big deal?
It certainly looked like they were trying to present a positive action, but the evidence for leucovorin is, well, pretty thin right now.
About then.
The sources say there are only a few small studies. One neurologist pointed out it seems to only potentially help a very specific subgroup kids who test positive for certain autoantibodies.
And even in that small group.
Only about a third saw a moderate benefit, so it's very targeted, very preliminary, definitely not a broad treatment for autism overall.
How did the autism community, the advocacy groups, react to this whole package? The Tylenol warning plus the limited leucovorin promotion.
They were deeply frustrated. Quotes mentioned finding the oversimplification of ASD dehumanizing at best and dangerous at its worst.
Why dangerous?
Because it suggests policymakers are maybe misunderstanding or misrepresenting a complex condition, treating it like something easily fixed or caused, which disrespects the actual research and the people living with ASD.
Meanwhile, the company that actually makes Tylenol, Kenvue, they didn't stay silent.
No, they pushed back hard and fast, just like the medical groups.
What was their line?
Pretty straightforward. They released a statement saying independent sound science clearly shows that taking acetaminophen does not cause autism, reaffirming its safety and importance for pregnant women.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
This feels like it goes beyond just this one drug, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It touches on that really sensitive issue of politicizing public health advice.
And the risk there?
It's about trust. Systemic damage, really. The sources quote an epidemiologist, Brian Lee. He used that old analogy.
The boy who cried wolf.
Exactly. This is like the boy who cried wolf.
Meaning if you issue baseless warnings.
People might ignore the next one, even if the next warning is real, urgent, and based on solid science.
So the immediate impact is confusion for patients right now. Pregnant people caught between their doctor and the government.
Right. Who do you trust? Your doctor following ACOG and WHO guidance, or the president? But the long-term damage could be much worse, an erosion of public trust in all health guidance.
And there was also concern about the scientific process itself, cherry-picking data.
Yeah, Robert Steinbrook from Public Citizen raised that. The worry that the administration was just picking studies that fit a view they already held.
Which undermines the whole idea of open, unbiased scientific inquiry, especially when looking at drug safety.
It really does. It makes it harder for scientists to do their jobs properly if the process feels rigged or predetermined by politics.
So stepping back from all the details, what's the main takeaway here for someone listening?
I think the core conflict is incredibly stark.
You've got established global medical consensus on one side, right? WHO, European regulators, U.S. doctors, all saying Tylenol is safe and necessary for fever and pregnancy based on huge amounts of data.
Decades of data, millions of people.
And on the other side, a sudden, top-level government policy shift, announced with zero new evidence presented.
Creating this direct clash between established science and a political announcement, and that leaves us with a really difficult question, doesn't it? When health policy seems driven by announcement first, science second, how do we, as a society, weigh the risks?
What do you mean?
I mean, how do doctors, and especially patients, balance the known immediate risk of not treating something serious like a high fever during pregnancy?
Against this unproven theoretical risk that's being pushed from the very top, but without the scientific backing. That's the calculation people are forced to make now.
That's the tough spot this situation creates.
If you found this conversation and this deep dive into the sources valuable, please do make sure you like and subscribe if you happen to be listening on YouTube.
Or follow us if you're listening on Spotify. It really helps others find the discussion.